Looks like we're ready. Yeah? Wow. Okay, I don't have to wait or nothing. Anyway, turn to Genesis chapter 22. And last time we got through Isaac's wife. Now we're going to go through, start with verse 24, Genesis chapter 22, verse 24. I've got to turn the page. Whew. We got a lot of people that were mentioned here, and we'll get down to this this last end. And anyway, it's talked about his concubine, whose name was Reumah. And it says she bare also Teba and Gaham and Zahash and Maacah. Now, this is one of these things here, and I've already talked a little bit with Steve about it. We're going to have a brief talk after church. I need to get home pretty quick after church. Connie's sick again this morning, and our phone isn't working, so I have to get home to kind of keep an eye on her. But anyway, I have come to the conclusion that if I do this study the way I've been doing it, it's going to take somewhere around 50 years, and we're not going to be able to do it this way, and so we're going to have to do kind of a generic study instead of what we've been doing. I've wanted to mention just about every woman in the Bible, and early on, I already skipped a bunch of them because they weren't named by name. I mean, they were like Fred's wife or something like that, And I have mentioned some after that that were in my mind were a little bit more important. And Reumah was one of those that was a little bit more important. This was a bunch of them. If you go back into verse 21 here, it says, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram. Anyway, it goes on, and there's a whole generation, multiple generations in some cases here that are mentioned. And you wonder, what do these people do? And some did wonderful things, some did terrible things. And in most cases, we have no idea. Most of the people that were mentioned here, we have no idea. But God thought that it was important enough to put their names in His Word. So, you're going to have to study them. I'm going to mention some, but not all. And anyway, I'll talk it over with Steve, and I'm going to get his ideas on it and see what he thinks. And there are many women mentioned in the Bible that have very important things that transpired throughout the timeline, throughout God's Word here. And the light just came on. Cool. Anyway, I can see better now. Anyway, we're going to go back to chapter 23. Now, you remember and Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. Now that's old. I'm 75 years old, and I feel like that's pretty old. I really do. Sometimes I think, boy, if you get studying earlier on in Genesis, you hear some of these people that were 700, 800, and you think, well, how in the world could they stand to be that old? Well, I think God gave them the ability, and I don't know. I would rather go on and be with the Lord. What did Paul say? To be absent with the body and be present with the Lord is far greater. I'm ready to go, but while I'm here, he's going to have me talk about women in the Bible, right? Okay, so we're going to do it. But anyway, chapter 23, verse 1 says, and Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the days of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjatharaba. Now I'm having the same problem that Steve has. I'm not going to try to pronounce that again. I've tried twice now. That's good enough. The same as Hebron in the land of Canaan, and Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. Now, that's not much different than the things that happen today, is it? A man loves his wife and he cares for her. Now, things were different back there. I mean, she was 127 years old, and Abraham was older than her. They had been married for a long time. And he wept for her. And I can understand that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just read a whole bunch of this. And I don't. Wait a minute now. What am I doing? Okay, verses 1 and 2. Okay, I already did that, and then verse 19. I'm getting so shook up on this. Anyway, verse 19. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. So we already heard that, but anyway, he took care of the body. Now, people want to take care of the body of their loved ones, don't they? And I'm hoping that Connie doesn't stuff me in a wood burner in the basement, but she might, but anyway, I don't really care. That's not something I'm worried about. I'm sure that Matt, maybe not Angie, but Matt will make sure that my body gets taken care of. But anyway, Abraham buried his wife. So we know that we're to take care of our wives, aren't we? All you men out there. And that doesn't end at death, does it? It keeps on going. Anyway, chapter 24. 1 through 9. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And this isn't about a woman, is it? No, it's about Abraham. It's talking about him, and we're going to come up onto one here. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh. And that's the way kind of a making a vow kind of thing. And I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven, and the God of the earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. So he's telling his servant, his eldest servant here, he's telling him, I'm living among the Canaanites. You ever wonder about, here's Abraham, and you read back in chapter 23 and other places where Abraham has lived in places where he was living with people that weren't his own people. And he says here, he's getting ready to die, and he says, I want you to get a wife for my son Isaac, but don't get one from these people here where we're living now. Go to my homeland, go to my family where my kindred is, and take a wife unto my son Isaac. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? He said, What if she don't come? And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. You don't do that. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, he brought him here. And which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. He's going to give my son a wife from my kindred. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and sware to him concerning that matter. So, wasn't talking much about a woman, was it? Yeah, there's a lot about a woman there. This servant was going to go get a wife for Isaac. Now, did you ever think about going to get a wife? Now, when I first met Connie, and I do this a lot. Connie, she's my favorite rabbit. I mean, I go chasing out after her all the time. And I had no intention of getting married. I don't know what. You could talk to people that knew me back then. They wasn't thinking anything about me getting married. And I didn't know Connie. I knew of her from back in school days. We went to school together for a couple of years, but I didn't remember her. Anyway, the Lord told me to go in this store, and He told me where to go in that store. And he told me to go talk to that girl there. And I went and I talked to that girl there. Now, we're going to get to a place here in just a little bit similar to what happened to me. And I saw her and I said, "You want to go out with me?" And I wasn't the kind of guy that would walk up to somebody, I didn't know her. And she said, "Yeah." And we went out and we watched a play, and it was the worst play in the whole wide world. It stunk. But it was her idea, so I figured I had a shot at a second date. And I asked her, "Would you go out with me again?" And I think she felt bad because it was her idea, and she said, "Yeah, I'll go out with you again." But anyway, the Lord brought us together, and there were people, everyone that I knew, said, "They ain't got a chance in the world." Now, I don't know if this was the same kind of thing here. I think that God had prepared Isaac to be ready for this girl. Anyway, we're not going to continue on with that. I'll read just a little bit more, verses 12 through 14. And he said, "O Lord God of my master Abraham," this is the servant, "I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham." He's praying to God that he'll send him to accomplish the purpose that Abraham had given him. He said he sent him out to get a wife for his son, and behold, I stand here by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. He said, "There's a bunch of girls here." And my story's even better than that. There was only one girl there. And anyway, "And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, Let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink. And she shall say, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac. And thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master." Now, I didn't know that Connie was the one that the Lord had prepared for me. But this servant, he asked God to show him. You know, I'm going to ask her to let down her pitcher to give him a drink. And she's going to say, "Well, here, you go ahead and drink, and I'll give water to your camels, too." I don't know about you, but I think camels drink a lot of water. Anyway, we're going to skip over some of this. I'm going to go ahead. This is an interesting story. I can see my life in this. Just, it's amazing. Anyway, in verse 15, "And it came to pass before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had she had any man known her. And she went down to the well and filled her pitcher and came up. And the servant ran to meet her and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hastened and let down her pitcher upon her hand and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. So I don't know how long it takes for a camel to drink its fill, but I'm going to guess it's a long time. And she hastened and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again into the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels, every one of them. Now, did the man doubt? No. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace, to wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. It says he held his peace. He didn't say anything. But I think he knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of half a shekel weight, and that's a lot of money, and 2 bracelets for her hands of 10 shekel weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. She said, Moreover unto him, we have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. Now, we could spend the whole rest of the day on this, but we got to move on. But this, if you just study some of these things, just pick out one of them and study on it. I like this one because it's a picture of my life, things that happened with me and Connie. Now, she didn't let down a pitcher and give me a drink of water, but God had her in the place that she was supposed to be, and I walked up, and it was, well, I'm not going to use the word magic, because magic is a devilish thing. You need to stay away from that. Magic is something to avoid. But I was, like I said before, I was not prepared for marriage. But the Lord prepared me just that fast. I was ready. And I tell Connie, we get in a discussion every once in a while. I'll tell her, we had a discussion, probably, I don't know if it was the second date or the third date. I told her, I love you. And she said, no, you don't. Well, okay. And I had to go through this, explaining everything to her about how I had to love her, and for a while there, about the only place I took her was to church. And I was so happy. But I was worried too, because she didn't believe me. And I could understand that, because guys nowadays, well, probably guys in days beforehand, if you're, girls need to watch out. They need to be careful. We say that all the time, isn't that right? Girls need to be careful. I'll tell you something, guys need to be careful. Anyway, turn to chapter 29. We're going to go to chapter 29. We're going to jump over a bunch of stuff here. And anyway, we're all the way up here to Jacob. And we're going to read verses 1 through 9. And Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled a stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. They tell him who they're from. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban, the son of Nahor? Now, you know Laban. We're getting ready to get onto this thing, and they said, We know him. And he said unto him, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with him, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. Now, we all know the story of Rachel, and we all know the story of Leah. And I have heard this particular portion of Scripture preached everywhere in the world. They say that, well, Jacob, he wasn't doing it right. You know, he should have known that Leah needed to be married first. And then they said, well, he was tricked by Laban. Laban was the one that, and you know, you don't know which is what, but if you read on, if you read into the story, you know, Laban tricked him some more, didn't he? But then again, Jacob tricked Laban some more. So these guys were tricksters going back and forth at each other. So it's hard to say who was right and who was wrong. But anyway, here's Rachel now. In the list that I had been studying from, it had Leah listed first because she was the eldest. But he met Rachel first at the well. So that messed up my study really bad. But anyway, she came to water the sheep. And verse 10, And it came to pass when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban, his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled a stone from the well's mouth. He's going to be very helpful. You ever... The guy is helpful when the gal is pretty, and if she got a few warts and a pimple here and there or something like that, he's not near as helpful, is he? But you got a wife, you need to think of her as a prettiest girl in the whole wide world. Now, you can't. I've got the prettiest girl in the whole wide world, so you can't think that. You got the second prettiest girl in the whole wide world. You need to help them, and I'll tell you, it don't happen very much anymore. And I'm going to hurt some feelings right now, I believe. Those of you listening over the internet, I think a man should open the door for a lady. I think he should help her get in a chair. And anything he can do to help her out like that. Open the pickle jar. I've had some pickle jars that I couldn't open. We've got a pickle jar opener that's under the cabinet, and I had to put the thing up there and use both hands. And it's still hard. And Connie is so proud of me. Anyway, it's your job to take care of your wife. And let's say you're not married yet. If you're just dating someone. You know why you date someone? You date a girl to prepare to get married. Now, I thought you dated a girl to have a good time. Well, we had a good time, yeah, but I didn't realize it, but I was dating my wife to prepare to get married. It didn't really take you that long to figure it out. Anyway, Jacob, the second part of verse 10 here, and Jacob went near and rolled a stone from the well's mouth and watered the flocks of Laban, his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel. Now, you need to be careful about that. That's not the custom nowadays. You know, you don't want to walk up and grab somebody and give them a kiss or anything like that. You might get in trouble. And lifted up his voice and wept. He was tickled to death. The Lord had provided him a wife. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him and embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the eldest was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. And I think we're going to stop there. Anyway, I've massacred this lesson too. But anyway, if you study these things and you apply them to your life, you know, these things, same things happening now, today. We had not in our church. There was recently a young man and a young woman that got married. Both of them good Christian people, they're expecting a child now. You talk about a blessing, man, that is, everybody is just tickled to death. And they're gonna be a blessing to everybody that knows them, everybody that meets them. You don't have to know them; they just meet them. Anyway, that's all we got for today. I'm going to be talking with Steve about what we can do to work things out a little bit better. Hopefully, he's got some ideas, because I don't. And anyway, y'all tune in about 5 minutes, because I'm sure the pastor's got a great message, a lot better than mine.